What's up, Team Gunmetal? This is Dane from the Gunmetal Armory podcast. Today we are going to change out the end plate on an AR15 lower. That would be this part right here. That's the part that we're going to change out. The part that we're going to use to replace it is made by BCM. It is their the BCM Gunfighter QD end plate. We're going to replace that old one with this one here. It's got a QD attachment hole in the back, so you can attach your sling to it. A lot of modern slings now come with these QD attachment points, and they're super useful, very easy to hook on and take off if you need to. Basically, it's just that simple right there, guys. It's no big deal at all. You know, it just attaches right on. Then when you want to unsecure it, you just press the button and away you go. So we're going to attach this end plate here so we can use our Magpul sling with the QD attachment on our AR-15 here, our AR-15 pistol. Okay, so without further ado, we are going to get to work. There are a couple of tools that can make this a little bit easier for you, but basically all I have is just a flat piece of metal. I like to use these feeler gauges for all sorts of different stuff, but I also use them to keep the detent in when I'm pulling out the rear stock piece here, or the receiver extension here. I use that to keep the detent in and to push the spring back in when I'm putting it back together. So let's go ahead and take it apart here. Let's see. I don't think I'll need to take the stock off of here. Let's see here. I do, however, need to pull this out. Get the spring tension off of here. Make that a little bit easier. Get that out of our way. Oops, sorry about that. Let's see. So that's out of our way. We've got our, don't forget about your buffer detent right here. When you start to unscrew your receiver extension, this buffer detent is going to shoot out of there unless you hold your thumb over top of it, okay? So be sure when you start to unscrew this back piece here that you keep an eye on this or put your thumb over it. There's also another spring right back here that you need to be aware of as well as you're unscrewing it, but that one is not nearly as important as this one as far as when you're removing it, because you can see here that let me see if I can get a little closer here for you guys. You can see here that the receiver extension is what's holding that in right there. So you'll need to hold your thumb over top of it as you're unscrewing the receiver extension. Okay, so here we go. We're going to give this a shot here and see how we do. It's not like it's very difficult. The other thing I like to do, I'm holding my thumb over this part, the buffer detent, but I also like to hold this back here as well. You can do that with one hand by holding it there and there, just like this, and then unscrew with this hand. It's not difficult to do at all. Just unscrew it with this hand, because this is going to have to come all the way out. Your receiver extension has to come all the way out of there to switch out this QD back, or to switch out the back plate here. Okay, so you can just hold that in like that. Very easy to do. All right, now that little dude's out of there, and now nice and easy, pull that out. Now here's that other spring I was telling you about. Let me see if I can zoom in for you here. There's that other spring I was telling you about there. Okay, so keep that in mind. You'll also need to hold something flat up against there when you're putting the new QD or the new end plate on there. Okay, and as I showed you a few minutes ago, our new end plate is this one from Bravo Company Machine, or BCM. Okay, So I'm gonna let tension off of this little dude here and go ahead and put this on. Push this in so it stays out of our way. Okay. That dude is in place. So next I'm going to hold this with my hand, just like I took it off. I'm going to hold it with those two fingers, and I'm going to push this through just like this. Get on there, you little bugger. Well, that might be a little bit harder than I thought. Let me see if this will work a different way. This may be one of those ones, yeah, it's got that tab down here at the bottom that makes it hard to put on. So I'm probably going to have to grind that tab down out of the way. I will be right back. I'm going to go grind that tab down and get that out of my way. One moment, please. Okay, so we are back. I was just going to edit all this out and just redo the whole video, but I believe in being real. As a gunsmith, you are going to run into problems like that, where this doesn't fit, or that may not work correctly, or the technique you're using isn't quite exactly what you need. So you need to be able to adapt to whatever comes your way. The other tip I want to give you with this BCM QD end plate is to be sure that you put it on correctly, because the QD end plate sure does look pretty doggone close to exactly the same on either side. So you want to be sure that you put it on correctly. Okay, so let me zoom in here real quick for you guys. This side has no star on it, but this side does have a star on it. You can see the star very, very easily there. This side here, of course, the groove cut right around in the circle there also tells you that this is the side that needs to stick up, okay? But yeah, that star tells you that's the side that needs to be facing out, okay? So it needs to be like that, all right? All right, so back to it. Now, if you remember from before, like I said, adapt. These are the things that can happen while you're working as a gunsmith. You know, tools fall, things pop out, all kinds of stuff can go wrong. So don't be surprised when things start coming apart, falling apart, this, that, and the other, okay? Don't be surprised by it. Don't be alarmed by it. I mean, look, my buffer detent fell right out, so it's not a big deal. This is reality. This is the reality of working with guns, man. Crap goes wrong all the time. So don't be surprised. Just roll with it and keep at it. Not a big deal, okay? All right, so we have our spring back in. No big deal. And we have our buffer detent back in. No big deal, okay? So I'm going to put my thumb over the buffer detent like I had from before. I'm going to make sure that my spring is facing outward, or my star, rather, is facing outward. There's my little spring there. That's kind of a pain in the booty, but we're going to work with that. So I'm going to push this in nice and flat. I'm going to make sure that my spring is not kinked when I'm pushing it in there, okay? You definitely want to make sure that that spring is not kinked when you're getting it in, all right? Don't kink your spring. All right, so now we've got it all held in there. Let's grab the stock. Start screwing it on in. So far, so good. Everything's working so far. All right, now, the other thing I want to bring to your attention is that I've been holding down the buffer detent right here the whole time, okay? Been holding that down with my thumbnail. Now, that can get a little painful on your thumb or your thumbnail after a little while, but you can leave it up if you want. Just leave it up until you get the receiver extension really close. It's the very, very tip of that receiver extension that's actually going to hold back the buffer detent. Okay, so once you get it close, you should just be able to let go of it, and it will it'll stay in place. Once you get it nice and close, you should be good to go. Sorry about the focus here, people. I'm trying to do the best I can. Okay, so get that on in there, tighten it down, and we're pretty much good to go right there. Now, I know you're thinking it doesn't look like we're good to go. I mean, it's tight, but your stock is offset. Well, these are pistol stocks, so they don't matter. You can just turn it to the side and line it up with the pistol grip. It's not a big deal. These are completely adjustable from side to side and all the way around if you want to. It's not a big deal. So just get this thing screwed all the way in, up against here. This is good. The spring was not kinked when we put it in. So now that we've got this all secured, we're going to check the rear takedown pin, make sure that the spring is still good in there. I'm going to go ahead and pull up. Yep. You can hear it click. If you listen, here we go. Yep, there it is. Okay. So next we are going to get our buffer tube and buffer. We're going to grab this little piggy here, which is our carbine buffer. We're going to pop that back in, and we're going to make sure that when we put it in, that this flat spot right here is facing toward the bottom. Okay, you always want to make sure one of those flat spots is facing toward the bottom or facing the detent there. Okay, you should just be able to slide this right past there without any problem. Push it in and boom, just like that. Now you can let it move around. I mean, you don't absolutely have to have that facing toward the bottom when it's operating, but I like to do that just as a point of reference. It just makes things a little bit easier for me. Okay, so once that's back in, we're pretty much good to go. I mean, there's not a whole lot left to do here. The only thing left is for us to grab our sling and actually test and see if our QD is actually working properly. So let's go ahead and pop this in here, take a look, see what we think. There we go. Just like that, guys. The QD is in. It works. It's a nice Magpul single point sling. Well, actually, it's a 2-point sling, but I've got it set up for single point. But it's in there. It works. Not a problem at all. We have a successful installation here, guys. Successful installation. No problemo. So, anyways, that was just a real simple video on taking out an end plate of an AR15, taking out the rear end plate, or the receiver extension end plate, whatever you want to call it. Pretty easy to do, guys. Pretty simple. Other than that, you know, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to comment in the section. Please subscribe. Again, I don't believe in editing these things down. I believe in showing you exactly what happens. Something falls off the table, I'm going to show you. This thing falls off the vise, I'm going to show you. This is reality, and this is what can go wrong and happen as a gunsmith during working on guns. So I'm going to give you the reality of the situation. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time as we go deeper inside the AR-15 room of the Gunmetal Armory. Adios.